Welcome to SBW Talks. In this episode, the power of sisterhood, building strong female friendships, and support networks, we have Dr. Tejal Patel. I've known Dr. Patel for over 2 decades now, and I'm excited to have her on our podcast. Dr. Patel resides in Windermere, Florida. She's a radiologist who did a fellowship in breast and women's imaging. Dr. Patel has made an impact empowering women and transforming their lives through her work and involvement in multiple community-based organizations. So welcome, Dr. Patel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Neela. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, so we want to talk about women and friendships. How can women prioritize friendships while balancing work, family, and other responsibilities?
Great question. So, in today's society, most of us are working and trying to balance work, life, family, relationship with your husband, relationship with your kids, relationship with your other family members. But it's so important for our own mental well-being that we nourish and develop female friendships, that we build a network around us, and not a career network. I'm talking about like a friendship network of strong females that will support you during your times of need. And I think we forget about that, right? We get married, we're trying to learn about each other, your husband-wife relationship. Then you have children, so then you're all involved in their lives. My biggest thing is that women really need to make time for themselves and have those female friends that they can go out with, spend time with, chat with on the phone, whatever it is. But it's so important that you as a female don't feel guilty. You should not feel guilty that you're taking away time from your kids. It's okay if you miss one soccer practice because you've already made plans to go out, right? It's not going to be the end of the world. But that 2-hour session with your female friends is going to be worth more than, it's going to be priceless because that's like free therapy, And so it's really important that I think women figure out that it's okay to take time out for themselves. I'm not saying you should be going out every night, right? But if you're going out once a week, or if you're carving out that time to do lunch with someone or breakfast, or maybe join a club, book club, your interest, that is going to really make you a better person as a whole. And it's going to show you that you want that work-life balance. I know everywhere, corporations, they all talk about, we provide work-life balance. They're meaning like, okay, you can be at work 8 to 5, then go home. But what are you doing when you go home? Are you really doing a balance? You think you're doing a balance because you're attending to every need of your child, right? Making food for him or her and taking her to practices and doing homework. And of course, you have to do all that. But you also have to take a step back and realize that it's really important to also focus on yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to burn, and then all those other relationships are going to be affected. You're not going to be healthy mentally, physically, emotionally. You're going to have tension with your husband, you're gonna have tension with your children. So it's so important that you have that resource of females that you can depend on. And because remember, we're all probably going through the same thing. We may not know it and we may not feel it. We may look at someone from the outside and be like, God, she's got it put together so well. But you know what? Inside, she's probably facing the same obstacles you are. And you just getting together and talking about it is going to just make you 100% better, I think, as a person. So again, guilt. Don't lean on your guilt. Build those friendships, because trust me, you're going to need those friendships. Children are going to leave us at some point, right?
Yeah.
We have children. We want them to grow and become strong adults, right? And we want them to be independent. Of course, we're sad when they leave, but it's so important that we know that we also make sure we don't lose ourselves in the process. And most of us do, unfortunately, And that's where we have to pull back and make sure we keep an eye on what we like to do, what we want to do with our friends, and so not lose ourselves at the end after all those years of giving, right? So I know we're givers, right? Females are just givers, and mothers are givers, and so we want to give, but it's all right to take some back. It's all right to take some time back for yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned through my years of parenthood. I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I work full time, and my husband works full time, right? So it's like we really had to do the balance, but I think and you have to make it clear to your husband too that, hey, I need my girl time. If I have my girl time, I'll probably be a lot more happier when I come home.
Yes. Great. So Another question we can go into: how do mentorship and community play a role in strengthening female relationships?
Right. So, I think a lot of times when people look at mentorship, they think of career, right? Like, have you had a female leader? And I think a lot of us had. I personally did. I work in a really male dominated field. But I was lucky to have one or two female leaders that have really helped me develop my skills in the workforce, and how to manage time and to be with my family and to be at work and to succeed at work and to climb that ladder, everyone talks about. But I think once at a point in your life, you're going to get to where you need to also mentor other people. And I think joining organizations that do network with women and mentor younger female professionals is so important for women of, say, my age, that middle age, right? Because we've been through it. Right. And so I think, being able to kind of spread that knowledge that, especially these young professionals that are just starting, they have little kids, they don't know what to do. And I think for them to come to networking, meetings or forums really helps them show that it's not just all about work, but these women can also teach you what you should be doing after work, how you should be handling your family, how to manage those time skills, and that there's a whole network that they can rely on. They shouldn't feel that they're in this by themselves. A lot of people talk about villages, like, oh, I have this village that helps me. And a lot of times it's your family, you have, parents, grandparents, you have all that to help you. But a lot of times it's your female friends that also are part of your village. And for me, it was like that. I had a strong network when my kids were young. I could rely on so many of my female friends, that village. So you have to kind of show the younger professionals and the younger, females coming out, newly married, new mothers, that we're there for them as a resource to use, not just for, say, connections at work or how to, but for just their social connections, right? Their social interactions, and make sure they don't forget that, we've all been there. And so we have a little experience. And so we can share that experience with them, might be up to them whether they're going to take it or not.
Right.
But I think most do. I think most really feel like, okay, I'm not the only one that's feeling this, or like, I'm not capable enough to do all this, but you are capable. If you have the right resources, the right healthy networks, and it's healthy friendships are important, right?
Correct.
So I think that's a key resource, is that, I think it's really important that women mentor other women, not just career-wise, but also in family life-wise. Like, how can you live your own life but still have a healthy family balance? And I think that's where a lot of people are trying to do the work-life balance, meaning family and work, but they're forgetting that there should be a family balance, right? Where your kids have their time. Kids have play dates, so why can't mom have a play date, right? Guys have their golf mornings, so why can't moms have their book clubs, right? So I think that's what we, again, have to just make sure we don't lose track of.
Right. No, great tips. And I know a lot of women talk about it's hard to find friends in their 40s, 50s. What do you say? And it's easier to find friends in their 20s. Let's discuss that. Like, as we age, it's kind of like our group gets closer and tighter.
Right. I think when you're young, you're finding yourself, right? And you're thinking, oh, I need to go out and meet as many people as I can, and, be involved in as many things as I can, and go to parties Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and that's fine. You're young, you're finding yourself. I've made some great friendships in my 20s. I have friends that I've known since I was born, and I'm 50, so I still know them, But then there are friendships that I've made in my 30s and especially in my 40s, I feel like. Because I think at 40, you kind of really know yourself. You know who you are, you know what track you want to go on, you know what you want to achieve. And I have made some of the best friendships in my 40s. And so sometimes we look at each other, these girls and I, God, I can't believe I've only known you 9 years, but I feel like I've known you 40 years, And we've become so close. So I think at different stages of life, you have different friendships. Some of those 20-year-old friendships are going to last, that you met in your 20s and the 30s. And I think 30s is a key point too, because a lot of us are having kids at that age. And a lot of us meet other females because of kids, right? You go to the library time, mommy time, gymboree time. You do a lot of that stuff, schools, right? So you do form a lot of friendships that way. But then sometimes those friendships also may fall out because the kids may not be friends anymore, or, kids move school, or people move, because in the 20s they're living first in Chicago, but then they're like, okay, now I'm going to go live in California, so, but I think in the 40s you're kind of settled, right? You're in that place where you're going to be, and you're really not worried about what others think of you, right?
Yeah.
So you're really open. And when you're open and honest, that's what's going to help a friendship. And, communication, like that is so key to any healthy friendship, right? And I think you learn to communicate better in your 40s than you probably did in your 30s and 20s, and even your 50s maybe. But I also think it's key when you talk about the age, about how important it is to have female friends of different age. I think they keep me healthy. I have friends that are in their 30s, and then I have friends that are in their 50s. Well, I'm in my 50 now, so I can't say that. But friends in their 60s, because I feel like I learn. I mean, even though I might be giving you advice right now, or giving all your audience members advice, but I still think I can learn stuff. And I feel like my older friends, or who have more experience, I can say, I learned from them how they've navigated, right? They have kids that are married, and some of them are even grandparents. But I really look up to them, and I really feel like I learned so much from them. And then I have the younger ones who are looking up to me, kind of, and then there's the middle bunch of us who are looking at each other, like, what are we doing? So I think it's important, because my younger ones keep me in track, like, yeah, you can't wear that when you go out. No. Or that makeup, let me do it for you. You also have to be willing to accept it, right? Because you can't be like, she just told me that I look not good, But I love it, because I love it that my younger ones are telling me, hey, that's it. So I think it's a good balance you should have, But I think, finding friends is hard, right? And I think when you do, and if you really click, it's so important to nurture that friendship. And I think I've always used an analogy that I think friendships are like a plant or a tree, right? You plant it, you have to nurture it, you have to water it, you have to feed it. You have to feed it with your love, with your interactions, with your experiences. The stalk is going to grow, the branches are going to grow. And each branch is just an adventure that you and that friend or friends or a group of friends have enjoyed together. Maybe it's sharing the birth of your second child, maybe it's sharing the loss of a parent. Right? It's the good and the bad. But these branches develop, and that's how your friendship develops, and you've got to feed the root so that it grows. And then on those branches, you're going to have leaves, and those are going to be your ROIs, your return on investments, right? Your products of your labor, right? That you had these solid branches and you have these solid friendships, and the adventures, the experiences make that friendship. So it's key again. I think there are friends, and then there are friends that become family. I'm sure you know, and that's just, I think I found that as such a positive thing in my life. And without it, I think I would be lost. And also, like you said, as you get older, I think a little bit you learn it's the quality of your friendships.
Correct.
Not the quantity, right? And it's that quality that really matters. And I think that's something key that you learn later on in life. You don't realize that later on, earlier on in life. But really, it's that quality, And I have, my husband and I are very involved in the community here. We know a lot of people. So a lot of people say, "Oh, but Tejal, you know so many people. You have so many friends. You have so many." And I'm like, I do. We know a lot of people. My husband has a business, so of course you're going to be connected that way. And we're both social, so it is, right? But I go, the thing is, you have a lot of friends, but then I call them my 2 a.m. friends, right? Those friends that you can pick up the phone at 2 a.m. and they're going to pick up and they're going to be there for you. Whether like, hey, I'm at the hospital, I need you. Hey, I'm at home, I need you. Hey, this has happened, I need you. And so I always tell them I have my 2 a.m. friends, and without those 2 a.m. friends, I will not survive. So they're a part of my soul and my being and my family's soul. And, without them, I'm not going to be who I am. So I'm blessed. I have a great family. I have my parents. I have great in-laws. I have everything. But those 2 a.m. friends also matter. And I think everyone should have that. Even if it's 2 people, 3 people, it doesn't matter. But but you have that person to call. You just need one, actually, sometimes, right? To
Right.
just be there. And so I think that's so key.
No, that's great. But with having that 2A friendship, I know some friendships are not meant to be. So, what are the signs of a toxic friendship, and when is it time to step away?
Right. So I was saying, remember I brought up before healthy friendships. And so there can also be toxic friendships. And I think toxic friendships, at least in my definition, is, there are going to be some women that are always going to try to put you down. They may smile to your face like, oh, hi. But if you speak, they'll probably just try to kind of banter it or, try to be antagonistic or, and those are people that don't care for you. And I think it takes age and time for you to realize that. I think when you're younger, you keep trying. You keep trying, you keep trying. And then you get to a certain point, I think you learn that this is not a healthy relationship. And I always say, if someone isn't going to support you, if someone's not going to be your cheerleader, vice versa, you have to be their cheerleader too. It's not a one-way street, right? But if they're not going to be there for you, they're not the right person for you to be, and you need to walk away. Just like I said, a friendship, I think, is a two-way street. You have to give, they have to give back. You can't be the only one initiating, calling, texting, everything, making the plans, right? Yeah, you're always going to have that planner in your group and the person that, does, but you really need, if it's a one-way friendship, eventually it's going to crash and burn because you're just going to go on that one-way road and you're going to fall off that road. So, and I think those are just toxic friendships. Those friendships that either they are always bringing you down, never saying anything uplifting to you, and you need to walk away. And like I said, so if you even have two friends that are the healthy friendships, it's okay. Because trust me, you are going to achieve a lot more with those two than, say, 10 toxic friends.
No, that's great. Yeah. I think it's what? Quantity over quality,
Right,
always.
exactly. Always, 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 always.
And as South Asian women, I think we kind of tend to stay in our little groups, but how can we diversify and be inclusive of, other support networks or other people? We
Yeah.
tend to stay in our South Asian.
We do. It's a tendency we have, but I think honestly, our kids are a source because they're in school. I think work and kids is a big source, right? Because that's where you're going to meet. Again, like if you're kind of hanging out in the South Asian, clique per se or group, that you're going to be Friday night to dinner, group dinners, couples dinners or family dinners or doing trips. But then for us, we found a lot of ours not even through work, but through our friends, through our kids' friends, where us moms have become such good friends. We have my kids are Windermere Prep moms, right? And I have 5 or 6 in each grade level that, I've gone through the years with. And, sometimes we call ourselves the United Nations because they're from all different countries, So I think that's, I think I've developed at least 3, 4 really, really tight friendships, and they're not South Asian, and it's great. We all get along. We still have the same values, the family values, and I think that's what it is. It's not about being South Asian or Indian or Gujarati or South Indian, it's about, do you share the same culture, the same values, right? The family values, and I think that's what you're looking for, is that your families get together no matter where you come from, but it's how you live, right? What your lifestyle is, what's important to you, education is important for our kids, this is important. And those families also have the same values. So the family values matter. But I think it's very important to diversify because you also learn a lot of perspective, a lot of new things, that you will never learn if you just stay in your little group, And actually, that's so funny you brought that up because my older son is a college first year, and it's the same. I had gone to visit him recently, and some of them were saying how some people just want to stay in that same ethnicity group, and they're all like, no, we like to branch out. We want to meet someone from here, from this country, that country. We're open. We're not just like, oh, we only talk to you if you're this culture. You know what I mean? So it was funny just to see even them talk about it. And it's great. It's great that the next generation is looking at friendships that way. So, but yeah, very key. Very key.
No, that's great. And we were talking about a quote you had.
Yes. So, I think I love this quote. It was by Eleanor Roosevelt. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. So I really think it's true because, you know, everything's great, right? Having parties, birthday parties, everyone's happy, joyful, right? But until you get into that serious moment, right? Until you get into that bad situation, who's going to be there for you, right? You know, and that's when you know the strength of the women. Just a little side note, past 5 weeks, my dad was in ICU, hospital, just went to rehab. I had such a great network of women, my friends, okay? I have not cooked in my house for 5 weeks because I had women, my girlfriends dropping off food, bringing food to the hospital, sitting with me, making sure that I ate. Because they're like, you're here every day, you go to work, you come here, you sit with your dad. Who's taking care of you, right? But not just that, they were even taking care of my mom. You know, they were at the hospital sitting with her when I couldn't be because I was at work. So this honestly, it's so funny how this all tied in, Neela, like how we you know, I brought this, you came to me and asked me to do this, and I was going through this period with my dad, and I'm just like, wow, this is the perfect time, because I really saw the strength of my female friendships and how they have taken care of my kids, and my younger one who's still at home, who needed car rides, who needed food, who just always were making sure that we were okay. And not just me, but even my parent, my mom that was sitting at the house, and even she had her own female network friends. So we had all the aunties, like my mom's aunties coming in the hospital bringing food, all my friends coming in. And so my mom was flabbergasted. She's like, you have because she's thinking the auntie group does this kind of stuff, right? You young girls. But she's like, I can't believe all your friends have been coming to the hospital, sitting with me or calling me and texting me, mind you, I'm sure they're calling. And so honestly, I felt so blessed. But again, you have to invest in all those friendships, right? And like I said, it's a two-way street. You got to do the same thing, and you got to do it with your heart. It's not like, oh, I have to do it. You're going to do it automatically. It's going to come from within you to do it. If you care for that person, if you care for that friendship and relationship, you're going to do it no matter what. So I think I love it, because when you're in the hot water, that tea bag, and I love my tea, I've got it right here,
Right.
and I like my tea strong. So, but yeah, it's really, it's so key that, one, we don't forget ourselves. We can't let the guilt factor come into play. Yes, of course, we're going to feel a little guilty, but it's okay, ladies. Join the book club that you want to join, if you enjoy. Join the cooking club. Join the running club. Join anything that makes you happy. Take time for yourself out. Start out just 2 hours in a week. That's it. That's all I'm asking. 2 hours in a week. I promise you'll make that into a girls' night out. And you are going to be such a happier and healthier person.
No, thank you. This is great. I think you went into all the topics we wanted to discuss. I mean, I think this was a great podcast. Thank you, Dr. Patel, for joining us today. Hopefully, we'll do another one with you. I know you love to travel.
I
And
love to travel.
yes, so maybe in the summer we'll do an episode on traveling as a female with women.
Oh yeah.
So yes, and
I
then
just had
maybe
my 50th, so there were plenty of girls trips going on.
that's great. That's great. But again, thank you for coming on today. And thank you to our listeners and viewers and supporters. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at SBW Talks. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.